So how do you feel about the truth? How do you feel about the truth? Are you a truth seeker? Someone who really wants to know? As Jack Nicholson once said, can you handle the truth? You know, I would say about 50% of us in America can't handle it, don't want to know it, unless it fits in with our preconceived belief systems. About 50% want to know the truth, which is why BillO'Reilly.com and what you're watching on the First TV and all of that is becoming the most successful internet-based news service in the world. Millions of people, as I told you, are now coming in here because the other media is collapsing, the corporate media. But I want to get to you. This show is about you, the American citizen, the honest citizen, and I assume you are. Do you really want to know the truth? Well, I'm going to tell you the truth tonight. I'm going to tell you the truth about Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you the truth about what's going to happen now. And some of you aren't going to like it. And I want you to write to me, bill@BillO'Reilly.com, and with any questions or comments about this segment, the truth. And we got Bernie Goldberg coming up, and I consider him a truth sayer as well. Bernie and I don't always agree, but over the years, and I've known him for 3 decades, I met him when I was 12. Bernie's much older than I am. But I have never known him not to tell the truth. You know, another person who's like that? Cheryl Atkinson, who works, I think, for Sinclair now. She's another one. I've never seen anything they've ever done that wasn't accurate. Let's put it that way. Okay, so let's run it down now. President Trump believes he won the election and that fraud, massive fraud, was involved. It's what he believes. No one is going to convince him otherwise. He has members of his administration, led by Rudy Giuliani, trying to prove that. They are not going to do it. They don't have enough time. They don't have any evidence now that we can see. It's all about faulty computers. It's about people not being allowed to observe. It's about dead people voting. And all of that is true. It's all true. But is it enough? Does it rise to the level of a federal court, the Supreme Court, overturning the vote in which Joe Biden won by 5 million? Does it rise? And the answer is it does not. You can listen to talk radio and watch Fox News 24/7. That's not going to change that. There is not enough. A glimmer of hope would be if the hand count in Georgia overturns that state and gives it to Donald Trump. There's presently a 15,000 gap between Biden, the winner, and Trump, the loser. If the hand count, which comes in Wednesday at midnight, would overturn that, then a lot of things would change. But I don't expect that will happen. Now, the president doesn't like the hand count, but the Justice Department is there. All right, the state police and investigative units in Georgia are there. They're watching Fulton County very, very closely because Fulton County cheated, in my opinion, in the original vote count. All right. So Mr. Trump has a right and a duty to the country to say, I want to know what happened before I hand over power to Joe Biden. He has that right and that duty, in my opinion. All right, this is opinion. That's not the truth, but that's my opinion. But Donald Trump knows at this point his quest to overturn the election is pretty much over. So he's looking what's going to be next, and I'm going to tell you about that. Now, there are 5 places in the country where I believe, based on what I have been able to assemble, fraud occurred. There are probably many more, but these are the 5 most important. Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit, Clark County, that's Las Vegas, and Fulton County, Atlanta. What I would do if I were President Trump I would hire the best analytics company in the world. I don't care if they're in Slovakia or Laos. The best analytic company in the world to come in to examine the vote 2020 and compare it to 2016 on an analytical basis and give you the odds, the mathematical odds of the outcome this year. Again, that's not going to be done in time. Remember, the votes are going to be certified by the states on December 7th, I believe. You're not going to have enough time to do that, but it should be done. Because if it's a mathematical impossibility to overturn a 600,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania on election night by mail-ins, we, the people, should know that. But at this juncture, the Supreme Court is not going to overturn an election where Joe Biden won by about 5 million popular votes. They're not going to do it. That would cause almost a civil war in the country. So the heavy odds are that Joe Biden will be sworn in late January. Now, that is all the truth, okay? I hope and I pray, you know me, I go to Mass every week. I pray that the Trump administration will get the analytics. We'll look at it so we could know. I mean, if there's a 2% probability of a vote, 600,000 lead being overturned, I want to know that. I want to know that. So that's where we should be. All right, now, let's get a little bit more specific. So did you see Barack Obama on CBS yesterday? He was on a CBS Morning News and 60 Minutes. Now, this guy is as slick as they come. And I have told you many, many times that I like him personally. I know you don't like him, some of you. I know. But I got to be honest. In addition to being a truth seeker, I'm an honest guy. I like him personally. And I respect his talents. And he is talented. But he's as slick as they come. Now, he's got a new book out. All right? So he sits down with Gayle King. I know Ms. King forever. I like Ms. King. She's Oprah's best friend. All right? But she is an ardent liberal. Ardent is the key word there. All right? That's all right. The whole crew at CBS are liberal. I don't think there's one person that I know at CBS News that isn't a liberal. The whole crew. So Gayle King asks Obama a very interesting question. Roll tape.
72 million people voted for Donald Trump. What does that say to you about the state of this country?
Well, what it says is that we are still deeply divided. The power of that alternative worldview that's presented in the media that those voters consume, it carries a lot of weight.
Are you worried about that?
Yes. It's very hard for our democracy to function if we are operating on just completely different sets of facts.
Okay, now this is interesting. So according to President Obama, and 74 million, not 72 million, Gail, voted for Trump. Those 74 million live in an alternative world. An alternative world. They don't live in his world or the real world. They're all alternatives, okay? And that the news they consume, and this has got to be part of that, the no spin news, all right, is feeding them, all right, a false view of the world. That's what that soundbite was all about. My side, President Obama would contend, we're fine. We get a clear vision of what's really happening. Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, there was a march in Washington on Saturday, all right, where tens of thousands, nobody give me the count. I've called 50 people, my staff has. Give me the count. How many people showed up? Nobody knows, but tens of thousands showed up to support Donald Trump, okay? So during that exposition, where tens of thousands of people were cheering for the president, far left people came and trouble broke out, as everybody knew it would. All right. But it was the far left people who exacerbated the trouble because the Trump people weren't going to fight each other. Here's how it was reported by a CBS News correspondent named Errol Barnett. Go.
So around me, you're seeing some of the supporters. I can tell you that I've seen a group known as the Proud Boys, other white nationalist groups and extremist groups that are expected to be here as well and have been promoting their participation online.
Okay, so he's seen them. I guess they have little sweatshirts. I don't know. He's seen them. Tens of thousands of people, yet Errol picks out a few fringe people, and it has to be a few because there aren't any more than 100 Proud Boys. Okay? He doesn't mention in his 1 minute and 42-second report, doesn't mention that far left people ignited violence. Doesn't mention it. Now, is this an alternative universe, Errol? I believe so. I mean, there were 21 arrests, most of them far-left Antifa types, according to DC police. There was an attack where some idiot named Javian Michael Dawson threw pyrotechnics at Trump supporters who were eating lunch. He was arrested. Okay, none of that's mentioned by Errol. Errol doesn't get that. Now, the pyrotechnic attack might have been asked after he filed, to be fair. Okay, but is this not, Mr. Obama, an alternative view of what's happening? Many of us are worried that our 401ks and retirement savings, everything we worked for over a lifetime, could evaporate. With all the fake news, it's important to have an independent expert in our corner to preserve and grow our savings. It's simple. So please meet Silicon Valley angel investor and 5G expert Jeff Brown of Brownstone Research, whose only obligation is to us, to you. His newsletter, The Near Future Report, shares his analysis on where the stock market is going and when, which stocks are poised to rise and fall, and new ways to profit from the exploding tech market. His track record is amazing, so please go to bill5g.com. It's easy, bill5g.com. You will thank me. Let's bring in Dinesh D'Souza, our pal from Houston, Texas. He's got a new documentary called Trump Card. Obviously, he follows politics very closely. He's a conservative. So, Dinesh, did I make any mistakes, or do you object to anything that I said in my opening?
I want to commend you, Bill, for outlining what I think is the simplest and sort of cleanest path to victory for Trump. I think the issue that you might have missed, not because you were wrong, but because you didn't talk about it, is whether or not there is a statistical case, very similar to what I would call a DNA case in a murder trial, in which probabilities are put forward that are so fantastic that the chance that it wasn't this guy, in other words, there's a 1 in a 25 million chance that it was somebody else's blood at the murder scene. That kind of a case, I think, can be made here.
All right, let me stop you there. Let me stop you for a minute. We did that last night. It's called analytics. Okay? We got into that. And I call for analytics in every state, all 50. You analyze the vote and you see if there's any disparity between what happened 4 years ago, all right, and the probability in Pennsylvania of overcoming a 600,000 lead by a mail-in situation. The problem with that, Dinesh, is those analytics take a lot of time, much more time than Donald Trump has. Go.
Well, you might be right that there is a longer term value to all this, which is to say that Trump legally takes the narrow path, but the forensic accounting continues apace. and this helps to fix the system down the road.
Down the road. Okay.
Because, yes,
Okay.
because
but a lot of people are holding out false hope. A lot of Trump voters, they have false hope that there's going to be some magic pill that comes in. And the Supreme Court, they're not going to look at circumstantial evidence, which is what analytics is. It's circumstantial. You can't prove that there was fraud unless you have evidence, even if the analytics are off the chart, which I suspect in Michigan and in Pennsylvania, they will be. I think the analytics are going to be off the chart in those two states. But I don't think a Supreme Court judge is going to overturn a national election based on that. Do you?
If I were the Supreme Court and I were to see the following pattern, in other words, that right through the election, Trump is performing a little better, as he was, than the Republican candidates who are on the ticket. And then somehow magically post-election, not just the Democratic mail-in ballots came in, but Trump takes a nosedive while the other Republican candidates continue apace. This would be so surpassingly strange that I would order a re-examination, an auditing, and a recounting of all the votes in those states. The reason being that it is the very basic integrity of democracy that's at stake. If someone could engineer a scam this one time, there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't keep doing it if they get away with it.
You make a very fascinating point. What effect does a 5 million popular vote lead have in any court presentation? Because the Democrats are going to go, hey, this is all a bunch of bull. Our guy won by 5 million in a popular vote. I mean, that's a significant win. What effect do you think that'll have?
None at all. That is silly. I mean, that would be similar to some guy going at Wimbledon and saying, listen, even though Federer won by 3-2, Federer just won 6-4 in the 3 sets, and the other guy won 6-0 in the 2 sets. Therefore, the other guy had more overall points, and the trophy should be awarded to him. That's simply not how the game is played.
All right. Okay.
So appealing to some other standard is meaningless.
Okay. But you know, judges are prone to psychological and emotional decision making as well. And I can guarantee you the 3 liberals on the Supreme Court are never going to vote in favor of Trump in this election. All right, let's talk about your doc, Trump card. You can get it at Target, Walmart, Amazon, everywhere. So if people invest the time and the money to watch this, Dinesh, give me 2 very important things, 2, that they're going to learn.
The real theme of the movie is socialism. It's based on my book called United States of Socialism. And in a weird way, this documentary is more timely than ever because I think if Biden and Harris make it, they're going to be moving us in the socialist direction. Now, Biden says, you know, I beat the socialist. But the simple fact of the matter is if you think of the free market at one end of the spectrum and socialism at the other, it's quite obvious that all the Democrats are pulling in the socialist direction. So what the film does is it outlines the very new type of socialism that the left is promoting, not actually the old socialism of Mao and Lenin and Stalin, but a distinctive type of socialism. It examines what that means, and it shows where we're going if we put these guys in charge.
All right. Specifically, what one thing in your documentary is going to matter to the folks?
Gosh, well, let's just say that the documentary spells out that socialism today is not just about economic confiscation. If you read Marx, he talks all about the class divide between the rich and the poor, the capitalists and the working class. But today's socialists care more about abortion than the minimum wage. They care more about the transgender bathroom than they care about, say, universal basic income. So socialism here is not just about taking your money. It's also about imposing a kind of conformity across the whole society. And that's just not a future specter. That's happening now.
Happening right now.
Look at all the,
right?
Yeah, look at all the
Absolutely.
people who are trying to punish people who work for Trump, get them fired, make sure that they won't have gainful employment.
Totalitarianism.
So this is
All
a
right.
threat to our basic civil liberties.
Okay, so the doc is Trump card. Hey, Dinesh, thanks for taking the time today. We really appreciate it.
If you are over the age of 50, I have an important message for you. There's a true alternative to AARP, the liberal retirement group that lobbies in favor of progressive policies. For less than $20 a year, an AMAC membership gives you members-only pricing on car insurance, roadside assistance, discounts on hotels and travel, cell phone plans, discount dental plans, and on and on and on and on. So please join more than 1 million fellow Americans right now at amac.us. And yes, I am a member. Visit amac.us, amac.us.
Joe Biden. So Biden's in a very interesting position. He believes that he's going to be president 100%. He has no doubt that he's going to be president. And I believe that he should be treated with respect. All right? And he should be briefed on intel matters, that the Trump administration should not block that. I don't know if the Trump administration is blocking it. That's what the Biden people say, but I'm not going to take their word for it. But in a country that respects the rule of law and the electoral process, Joe Biden certainly should be getting intelligence briefings. There's no reason why he shouldn't. That's number one. Number two, behind the scenes, Biden is being pressured by the far left because the far left is worried that Biden's going to throw them under the bus. So let's take Black Lives Matter Global Foundation. Again, I will remind you, there's a difference between the slogan Black Lives Matter and the organization, which is run by 3 women who are communists, Marxists, and they admit it. It's not like I'm smearing them. They proudly admit it. So here is what one of the co-founders, Patrisse Cullors, said to Joe Biden in letter form, quote, "We want to be heard and our agenda to be prioritized. We issue these expectations not just because Black people are the most consistent and reliable voters for Democrats, but also because Black people are truly living in a crisis in a nation that was built on our subjugation," unquote. That is a thinly veiled threat to Joe Biden in letter form saying, hey, you better pay attention to us. You better give us a seat at the table close to the turkey, close to the entree, because we helped you. Now we want it. You should know that's going on, okay? Now, Elizabeth Warren has stepped into the breach as well. She is a socialist, a hardcore private property denier. Hey, I just coined that. You can use it. Senator Warren is a private property denier, along with Bernie Sanders. That means that what we have, you and me, that we paid for with after-tax dollars, what we have, we don't really own. Not ours. It's the property of the federal government. And if they want to take a piece of it away, they should be able to do it. That's socialism. That's private property deniers. That's Elizabeth Warren. So she says, quote, "The Biden-Harris ticket accomplished something historic, unseating an incumbent president for the first time in a generation and likely flipping states that haven't voted for Democrats in decades. They also did it by running on the most progressive economic and racial justice platform of any general election nominee ever." Oh, okay. So she's putting Biden in the progressive camp. And you better stay there, Joe. You better stay there. So all of this is going on. It's a swirl, okay? So Bernie Sanders, he don't want to be left out. The barn burner, hey, he wants a seat too. He wants to be right next to the BLM people, okay? And Bernie wants to be labor secretary in the cabinet. So we're going to put a communist as labor secretary. Because Bernie's a communist. I'm a democratic socialist. Yeah, sure you are, Bernie. You'd take everything I had if you could. You would seize it. You and your buddy Fidel. Remember, Bernie likes Fidel. Oh, he did a lot of good things. Bernie Sanders. All right, we're in a recession. Everybody knows it. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs, and now's the time to evaluate your financial portfolio. And I recommend you hold some gold and silver, and the company that I use is American Hartford Gold Group. I've been with them for years. They sell physical gold and silver. You can hold it, or they'll deliver it to your IRA. Gold is up more than 30% since I started telling you about the American Hartford Gold Group. So please call them now, tell them Bill sent you, and they'll give you $1,500 of free silver on your first order. The number is 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. So Steve Hasser writes, O'Reilly, you're making excuses. You're saying that our election system can be blackmailed by threats of violence from the left. Why do you think we 74 million will find that acceptable? I'm not finding anything acceptable, and I'm not saying anything. I'm reporting, Steve. I'm reporting. All right? As I told you Monday, it's my job to tell you the truth. And I have. So what Steve is referring to, as I said, in order for the election to be stayed or overturned by the Supreme Court, you would have to have a very compelling amount of evidence that is visible to everyone. Can't be a theory, can't be an opinion, can't be something like some observers were denied in Philadelphia. It's got to rise to a very high level. Why? Because the Supreme Court justices are human beings. And they know if they stay the election, if they turn it around and President Trump turns out to be the winner, there'll be violence in this country, violence on the streets. That will happen. And the Supreme Court justices know it. Therefore, to make that kind of a judgment, you would have to have incontrovertible proof that every American could see. I discussed this today with Sean Hannity, who was running down the litany of fraud accusations, many of which are true. I don't believe there was an honest count done in Philadelphia or Detroit or Milwaukee or Clark County, Las Vegas. I don't believe there was an honest count done. I don't believe there was an honest count done in Fulton County. That's Atlanta, Georgia. Okay? I could be wrong, but the evidence says there were illegalities, irregularities that took place. But do they rise to the level of overturning an election? That's what the Supreme Court, the only body, the only one who could stop this train, and the train has to be stopped by December 7th when the votes are certified. So getting back to Steve, Steve is mad at me for reporting that. He thinks I'm advocating for the Supreme Court justices. He thinks that I'm condoning if they voted against staying the election. And I'm not doing any of that. I'm bringing you information that's real. Think back. How many people told you there was going to be a Trump landslide? Think about it. When you're listening to the radio or watching television, how many people came on and told you, Trump's going to win, he's going to win big? All right? I didn't say that. I reported it was going to be very close. I also reported whoever wins Pennsylvania becomes the next president. Both of those things happened. All right? I went against many on the right who were convinced there would be a landslide for Donald Trump. Now, we're in a position where most Republicans, and I'll give you the numbers in a moment, believe that the election was fixed for the Democrats in key places. I'm not trying to dissuade you from that. As I just said, I believe it was fixed. If I were on the Supreme Court, would I vote to stay the election? I'd have to see the evidence in Pennsylvania. How many votes are involved that came in after Election Day? what the final tally was. I'd have to evaluate all that. I can tell you with certainty there are 4 Supreme Court justices right now, without seeing any evidence, who would vote against overturning the election or stopping the election. 4, Roberts, would not vote under any circumstances to overturn this election, and the 3 liberal justices. So there you have 4 already that no matter what happens, aren't going to do it for whatever reasons, and that's on them. So then you have 5 who may consider stopping the election. But if 1 out of that 5 says no, Biden's president. So I'm giving you the odds. Let's get specific. Georgia recount. It ends tonight at midnight, all right? So far, Donald Trump has picked up, as far as we know, 1,227 votes that were uncounted in the first go-around. There's a 12,500 vote difference in favor of Biden. By midnight tonight, are we going to see 12,500 votes go to Trump? And the answer is no. That's not going to happen. It's too many. Now, Georgia's run by a Republican governor, Kemp. Was there fraud? Yeah. Atlanta is Atlanta. Okay? It's not a reliable precinct. But is it going to be overturned? No. So the 16 electoral votes that Joe Biden got in Georgia will stay in his camp. Okay, let's go to Pennsylvania. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania threw out the observers were kept too far away lawsuit. They threw it out. Okay? 5-2. That's the system. The quote was, the majority opinion from the court affirms that campaign observers had been given adequate access to counting areas throughout the election. Is that true? I don't think so, but that's my opinion. All right, so the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, not going to do anything about it. Now, can you appeal to the federal level? Sure, you can. But the one thing that does remain pending in Pennsylvania is how many votes, mail-in votes that came in after Election Day, should be counted. The law says none, I believe. And that's the one that could wind up in the Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court. So I don't believe Pennsylvania judges are going to say, oh, our state screwed up. I don't believe any state judges are going to do that. So you got to go to the feds. All right, here are the stats. The Politico left-wing website, they have a polling place, a polling outfit hired, Morning Consult, way off on the presidential election. I've told you about them in the past, unreliable, totally. So they take a poll, 1,994 registered voters, but Democrats outnumber Republicans by 8%, so what do you think you're going to get? And the question was, do you believe that Donald Trump should concede the election? 46%. That's pretty low. I thought it would be more. Say yes. All right. Democrats, 72% of Democrats say he should concede. Republicans, only 17% say he should concede. And you know what I say? He shouldn't concede. I wouldn't concede if I were President Trump, ever. How about that? Because I think that there was wrongdoing in the election. Now, does that mean I wouldn't cooperate with Biden coming in? That I wouldn't be polite? That I wouldn't give him access? No, I would. Once the votes are certified, then you do what everybody else has always done. But would I concede? No, not the way it stands now. Reuters poll, 68% of Republicans say the election was rigged. 68% think it was rigged. That's Republicans. And there were a few Democrats and independents that think it's rigged too. Now, no matter what happens, and the heavy odds are, as I told Sean Hannity, I hope you listen to that, by the way, that Joe Biden will be the next president. That's not going to change the minds of the people who think it was rigged. So what should happen is as soon as the Senate comes back into session in January, our pal Mitch McConnell should have a bill already written called the Fair Election Bill. And on the Fair Election Bill, it should have standards that all states have to meet in the next presidential election in 2024. Here's what you have to do, states. Now, states can still oversee, as the Constitution allows, but there should be standards. As I said, if California decides to vote to drop the voting age to 8, which they could do in Sacramento, the Fed's got to, no. Okay? Now, the reason I want McConnell to do that in the Senate is because all the Republican senators would vote for that bill, I believe. We'll see how many Democrats would vote for it, the Fair Election Bill. Because in my opinion, there are Democrats that don't want fair elections. And I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. All right, let's get to the mail. Georgia on the message board at BillO'Reilly.com. I'm sick in thinking that our Supreme Court would be bullied by Antifa, BLM, and other criminals to select our next president. If that's the case, they don't deserve to be justices. Again, I dealt with this, Georgia. I hope you watch the whole program. It's not a matter of being bullied. It's a matter of human nature. There is a cause and effect to every ruling the Supreme Court makes. They know they overturn their election or even stay it, it's going to be violence. That doesn't mean they won't do the right thing. It just makes it very hard. John, you can never give in to bullies who wants to live their life being intimidated. Supreme Court must follow the law and the Constitution. I agree with you 100%, John. Linda, the world changes so much in just a week, there's no way we should be talking about Donald Trump running in 2024. Well, a lot of people want to know what he's going to do, and I have to analyze it on that basis. Juan Garza, Pearland, Texas. Elections, consequences, and the people have spoken for the new government in our country. Does that mean the folks are okay with the Green New Deal, increasing taxes and more regulation and open borders? Some of them are. Some of them are. Only 24% say they're liberal in the exit polling. Some of them say, hey, we want that. Deb Granith, Flemington, New Jersey, can you address what do the good citizens of this country do now? Nothing. You wait and you watch and you continue to vote for the people that you feel are looking out for you and the country. You're loyal, patriotic Americans. That's what you do. The system is the system. Sometimes it's not fair. We'll try to improve it. I'm going to be here to guide you through this. I don't think there's going to be madness. I think that Biden and the Republican Senate are not going to give in to the craziness. But if they do, we'll come up with a strategy. John, concierge member, that means that John can email me anytime with any question, and I answer it privately to him. That's concierge membership on BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, thanks for bringing up COVID in China. It's unfathomable that a year after, the Chinese government still avoids any kind of scrutiny pertaining to the virus. What can we do? It's the second most powerful country in the world, next to us. The world can't do anything. Dr. Michael Mikolaj, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Do you think the USA or other countries require proof of COVID vaccine for entry into their country? Yes. If you want to travel abroad, you're going to have a card that says you got vaccinated. I believe that will happen. Lynn Gaylor, Sarasota, Florida. Bill, I'd like your comment on how you are doing kind things by sending small gifts to people this holiday season that you normally wouldn't. Maybe you should send Mr. Biden a stand up for your country mat. Let me see that mat. Throw that mat up there for Lynn. Now, we're almost out of these. We're almost out of the We Say Merry Christmas mats. We're almost out of the stand up for your country mats. You want them, you got to order today. I will try to replenish the stand up for your countries. I can't do the Christmases, I don't think, in time. But boy, they just flew out of here. They're great items. We also have the theme, Stand Up for Your Country, on hats. We have other colors on the hats, on mugs. I love these mugs. Every day we have white and blue, navy blue. Fabulous. And what Lynn was referring to is that I am sending gifts like these. Merry Christmas, America. All right? Merry Christmas, America. There it is, it's peeking out. To folks just, and starting now around Thanksgiving, just to say, look, COVID is really cutting into all the celebrations. We understand that, but I'm thinking about you. Man, that's a good thing to do. And these are really inexpensive. And, you know, the best gift of all to those who like history is Killing Crazy Horse. You know, after 10 weeks, still on the bestseller list. You know, a mammoth success. Thank you. And we have all kinds of deals in the BillO'Reilly.com store. Word of the day when writing to us, not the poltroon, P-O-L-T-R-O-O-N. I called an urchin a poltroon the other day. Total confusion. Didn't know whether I was complimenting or criticizing. Don't be a poltroon. Final thought in a moment. Okay, time for the final thought of the day. As I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we've got thousands of people, new people. They know me, but for some reason or another, they didn't track me down on the First TV and BillO'Reilly.com, but now they are. Now, everybody is calling me and telling me it's because Fox News is not deemed trustworthy anymore by certain people. I don't know that to be true. All right, I don't watch a lot of FNC anymore because I just don't have the time to do it. I think the primetime hosts, Carlson and Hannity and Laura, they're pretty consistent. I don't see any big changes in them. But maybe you guys are seeing stuff I'm not seeing. Now, I know the call on Arizona was super controversial. I wouldn't have done that. I know Fox News polling isn't the best. I've said that for years. But hey, this is the best place if you want honest and smart news. This is it right here. All right, BillO'Reilly.com news agency, I think, the best on the planet if you're looking for the truth. If you're looking for ideology, you don't want us. All right, if you're looking for sensationalism or cheap shots, you don't want us. But if you really want to know so you can protect your family and yourself, what's happening and what's going to happen, this is it. So we welcome every single person. Now we have millions of people. When I started this, we had tens of thousands of people. Now we got millions of people watching us. It's never been done on the internet before. This is the most powerful news agency on the net in the world. And I want to let you vent. We do it every night. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. Let me know how you feel. If we can do something better, let us know. But we are so happy to be breaking out now that everybody in the country in the next year, you're going to need us because this is going to be chaos in America. And we're here for you. We'll see you tomorrow.